I'm just messing with you. I wanted to see what you would do.
I didn't know how to begin. Okay,
No,
so...
it's totally fine. My name is Rob.
And I'm Nathaniel.
We are doing a horror podcast, but it's not just any horror podcast. This is a continuation from a podcast that we created together back in 2017.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
I can't believe it's been that long. It wasn't on purpose. It really wasn't.
Well, we did the show a little over a year, almost 2 years. It was titled Bitch, I Ain't Scared. We decided to get back together and revise this podcast. The title is still Bitch, I Ain't Scared, but for short, we are also calling it FearBIAS. What that means to us is basically Nate and I have a specific taste in the horror genre that we absolutely love. And you'll learn about that taste as we go through our episodes. But we have a little bit of a bias that comes with our horror, and not to say that's the only type that we like, but we want to use this show and this platform to explore different types of horror genre that we're not so used to or that we don't have a huge taste in, and see where we end up. You know, after 2017, we've both become, wiser and smarter.
Meh.
And and we again still love talking about the genre so much. So I think with this show, we're going to just talk about every variation that we can, down to the useless conversations, up into a lot of great topics and discussions and horror news that comes out. You'll just hear our opinions on them. And then every once in a while, we'll definitely review some horror movies on here. And we also have an idea for a horror trivia game that, if listeners really enjoy, could definitely participate in. So you're going to get a lot of variations of this show, and you'll never know what's going to come up with each episode. I'm very excited, and I'm glad to be back with Nate.
I'm happy to be here, resurrected from the grave. I just had to claw my way out. I'm excited as well. I look forward to things that we maybe didn't get to do last time, or we didn't fully realize them. I think now we have a better idea of what we want to accomplish, besides just having fun. Also, speaking of fun fact, we're also going by FearBIAS because of censorship.
Yeah.
It's so hard to use the word bitch sometimes.
It is, yeah. But it makes sense because bias is an acronym of the title of our show, so it all fits perfectly. So just before we get started, I do want to point out that if any of you have any interest on what our show was like back in 2017 through 2018, you can listen to all of our episodes on YouTube under the channel FearBIAS, and we have about almost 50 episodes there that are still on the YouTube page. So yeah, while you're listening to this podcast, feel free to go to YouTube and listen to our old episodes and get an idea. We may even pull some stuff that we had said before, challenge ourselves to see if we actually still think the same.
It's a lot of retro shit talking.
Very retro, yes, pretty definitely. Sure. Yeah. Well, a lot of you may not know us from the original show, so we wanted to use this episode to sort of reintroduce ourselves and also give you an idea of the type of taste that we have in the genre by going through some questions and taking it from there. Also, Nate has a couple of topics in the horror genre that he would like to bring up and discuss. Nate, here is the first thing that I think everybody would like to know to get to know you and your taste in horror. Do you happen to have a favorite horror movie today?
Yeah, my favorite horror movie is still the same. It hasn't changed. Scream 2. It's still my favorite.
Scream 2.
Because Scream really sort of solidified my beginnings of being a horror fan. Before that, I didn't like horror. I was too scared. I was a little kid. Or it was just really gross. I don't know. And also, when I was young, Sci-Fi Channel movies were not the business, and they were everywhere, and that's what my stepdad liked. So that's what I thought of as horror. It was just not great. But then Scream changed everything for me. It was so smart and scary and funny. And then Scream 2 came along and blew my little mind. And I couldn't believe that I was getting to experience for a second time. And I think that's one of those examples where the sequel, in my opinion, it did surpass the original in a lot of ways. And it capitalized on the first one, but was still good as its own movie. So.
Very good. Very good. My favorite horror movie has not changed also, and mine is based on the fact that this is still the scariest movie that I have ever seen, and I am basing that on the age that I've seen it, but I still respect the movie in a lot of ways, and that's Clive Barker's Candyman.
Yes.
Yeah, my theater experience with this movie is seriously the highest. The intensity, the anxiety, all of it just really got me with this film. I also had a phobia with mirrors and all of that afterwards for a few months, and it just
Wow.
it was very heavy for me. And now I just look at it as a very intelligent, well written, and well acted film. And I always recommend this to anyone who can look at a horror movie, see a bunch of gore and grotesque, but yet there's a message into it. And I love that it still speaks to today's current climate in our world. Like it's such an amazing film, and it's original. It's an
Yeah.
original fucking idea. Now, what about your favorite subgenre? Horror has gotten so like spread out into so many different ways that it can be looked at with so many subcategories. Do you happen to have a favorite?
That's hard. I think it used to be werewolves, but I've sort of let that ship sail because I think maybe werewolf movies are just hard to do. And the ones that have come along since I've been in existence, it's mostly misses, not hits. Yeah, I have a lot of appreciation for the movies from the 80s, like The Howling and American Wolf in London, stuff like that, or even the original Wolfman. I like those. But maybe, and somebody might argue with me, but maybe my favorite subgenre is witches. There's not a lot of horror, air quotes, a lot of horror movies with witches. I'm using that term loosely, I guess.
Well, hey, that's the thing. Even if it's like a total of 10 movies in the whole subgenre, those 10 movies stand out to you and makes this your favorite. So there you
Yeah.
have it. Witches are your favorite.
I mean, Witches of Eastwick, it's not exactly horror, but, it's a great witch movie.
Yeah.
What can I do?
No, that's cool. So my favorite subgenre is sort of a tie between two. I don't know if the second one is considered a subgenre, but it is to me. I am splitting it with slasher
Hmm.
and anthology.
Oh,
I've
I'd like to change my answer. No, I'm kidding.
Slasher, I don't care how tropey, I don't care how predictable, I don't care how many times the formula is used. When you've got a killer taking out people one by one, I just love that format so much. I will forever watch those till the day I die. And now, as far as anthology, it just gives me an opportunity to see lots of ideas sort of being used like straight to the point. I love a mixture. It's just fun to be able to explore different things. And that also gives you sort of this unpredictable side of things where you don't know where the next story is going to go. I like that short, straight to the point. I can go back to, even from movies to even TV, Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark, all of those anthologies always spoke to me when I was younger. So those are great genres.
Mm-hmm.
How about a horror icon?
Probably Candyman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine is it used to be, well, I can't, I believe I said Fred Krueger back in the day, and he's still a really good one, but I dig Jigsaw a lot.
Oh, you do. You do.
Yeah, I really do dig Jigsaw. How about Final Girl?
Sidney Prescott.
Sydney.
I don't even gotta think about it.
I'm going with Laurie Strode, actually.
You do love you some Jamie.
Jamie is just amazing in everything, almost everything that she does. And Laurie Strode, I think, is just one of those characters that watching her get stronger with every single time she's in a Halloween film. I'm just so amazed by what she does. So she's my pick for that. How about a horror film that no one else likes but you do?
Maybe The Fog. Even
Okay.
though it's sort of a cult classic, I feel like people don't like that. But I liked The Fog, the original.
Okay, I was gonna say yes. We need to be specific.
Sorry, not the Tom Welling thing.
Yeah. All right. Mine is Edward Furlong's Brain Scan.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
No one has seen it, and if you have, you hate it, and I love it. I
Oh,
don't care.
okay.
I will watch it. I just bought it on Blu-ray
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
it's got some extra features, so I can't wait to really explore that a little bit and hopefully talk about it on this show. If you guys don't know Brain Scan, look it up. Edward Furlong. It's crazy.
He looks crazy. What is his name?
Trickster.
He
Yeah,
looks scary.
they tried to create another horror icon with this guy and it didn't stick, unfortunately. I enjoy the character a lot. Yeah, you guys may like hate watch it and enjoy it, who knows, but I just find the movie to be just so much fun. Let's turn it around. A movie that you don't like but everybody else does.
Oh, that's easy. Everybody loves The Ring, the American Ring, and I rewatched it recently because I was like, I need to like try again. Sure, it has some moments, and it has, but I don't know. So I probably don't even like the original because I think this is just like basically a copy. I don't think they changed anything.
No, not really. And
Okay.
I mean, that's not my answer, but I agree. I'm not a big Ring fan. Everybody thought that
Mm,
TV stuff was like the scariest shit in the world. I'm like, I'm sorry.
mm. I love The
I
Grudge.
yeah, The Grudge is I think is a lot better than The Ring. So yeah, no, I get you on that. A movie that everybody loves, but I don't. The Shining, Stanley Kubrick. I can't.
Oh,
I
yeah.
cannot with The Shining. It is just to me, it is just so boring. It's so boring. Now I don't hate the movie. And there are parts that I do enjoy, like the last 10 minutes of the film where he actually like does something. Hell yeah. But the
Yeah.
rest of it, the history of the hotel and the messaging behind it, the slow allegory about alcoholism, I don't care. The movie was not executed for my entertainment taste. I can't with that movie. Now, let's get even controversial. I love the miniseries though.
Oh no, because the miniseries is more like the book. They changed some things, like Stanley Kubrick changed some things, deciding to kill the black character with an axe. That didn't happen in the book.
No, yeah.
So no, I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. I forget about that movie sometimes, but the miniseries is good.
Yeah, thank you for agreeing with me. Last question. I want to know if you had to introduce the horror genre to a newbie or someone who actually comes to you and says, look, I don't like horror movies, but you want to show them a horror movie that they may enjoy. What's a movie that you would show them?
Ooh, I would show them Insidious.
Good answer. Good
Yeah,
answer.
like I would love to show people Scream and hope they get it. But because it's from 1996, like people are like, they called it a cellular device, not a cell. It's like, shut the fuck up, kid. Um, so no, I think Insidious is sort of it's modern enough. Yes, there's a few like jump scares or like music stings that I hate, but it's still a pretty solid movie all around.
Okay, very good. For me, I always think that horror comedy is a way to
Mm,
introduce people into like the horror genre.
mm.
And I picked something that isn't as gross, and I think that could be entertaining for its story and plot and whatnot. I chose The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox. I enjoy the mystery aspect of that. I think the special effects are really cool. And again, it's not like the scary jump at you and gory mess that most people would assume horror movies are. So I think that would be a fun one for people to enjoy. And maybe be okay with watching a thriller or supernatural movie afterwards.
Okay. Bonus question: what's your favorite horror comedy?
How dare you? Oh my goodness. I have a lot that I like because horror comedies are so good. But the two that stand out always, I haven't seen anybody beat it. It's Cabin in the Woods and
Hmm.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
I've never seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
How dare you?
I dare. I dare.
Look at that. We've added one to the list already. Sometime in this podcast, Nate will be watching Tucker and Dale versus Evil and talk about it on the show.
I'll make time, I guess.
It's so good. Oh, it's so good.
Nice. I think, yeah, I do love Cabin in the Woods, but I sometimes forget about it being a comedy because I think the horror aspects and the way they play with it so much is great just as horror, but obviously it is very funny. But I will say, I was so surprised by Little Monsters. It came out 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago.
Oh, so you're speaking about Lupita's Little
yes.
Monsters. Yes, you have to be specific on that one.
If you haven't seen it, it's on Hulu. You need to treat yourself. It's hilarious, and obviously Lupita can do any genre, and she's just amazing.
Yeah, Little Monsters was great. I definitely recommend that too. All right, so one other thing that we want to do while we're introducing ourselves is, speaking of the character tropes that are in horror movies, Nate and I have labeled or nicknamed ourselves to one of those 5 specific tropes you see in a horror movie, which is the jock, the virgin, the whore, the fool, and the scholar. Nate, tell everyone which that you, I guess, relate to or have labeled yourself as.
I have lovingly labeled myself the fool because I have such a love for weed, and I'm actually secretly ripped under all my clothing. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. I need to hit the gym again. But yeah, I'm the fool. I feel like I related to that character the most. I don't necessarily think of myself as like jumping in and saving the day right away, but I feel like I'd do well. I'd have some like background information that might be useful. And mostly I have a lot of like snarky one-liners. So there you go.
Very cool. I am known as the scholar. I am the very nice, sensitive type, respect women, have this underlying hotness that doesn't stick out. I come at things with more of an analytical view. I think before I speak. I'm just that guy that may or may not make it. This is also a gay horror podcast. We are both the homo gay. Yeah, I think this will be a fun way to explore horror through a gay's point of view.
Well, I have just noticed a lot of things happening recently, and it's probably old news to most people. I've just been so bombarded by the coronavirus news, but sequels and remakes are still happening, and it's not anything that's super new, but I'm still a little amazed. Paranormal Activity just came out, or at least it feels like it just came out, and they're already remaking it or something. So I was a little surprised by that. And I noticed that the director of Ma is trying to get a sequel. Not that I didn't enjoy Ma. It was fun. Octavia was great. I'm just still a little surprised by remakes and sequels. And then I do remember that most horror movies probably only cost 2 nickels to actually make. So that's why they usually make sequels. The first one cost very little, and then they throw lots of money at the sequel. I don't know. Have we ran out of ideas? Do you think?
My opinion on the remakes and sequels, I think it is a very safe route for developers and production companies to use because they have a guaranteed fan base. We're at a time right now where it's not easy to just take a risk on a new idea and put a lot of money behind it because that could make or break their business. I think with remakes and sequels, it's one of those things where you are going to be super curious on how it turns out, whether it's good or bad. There have been times where I would see a movie and I would say, you know what, I don't like that. And then a sequel will come out and then I'll be like, well, let's see if it's better than the first one. So there's a fan base there. There's a curiosity. People like to feel like they're a part of something. I think when you even have these big giant franchises, not even in horror, in other aspects of the movie industry, with like superheroes and stuff, You know, you go there and you already know what you're going to get. You already know you're going to get, you know, the same characters, the same type of feel. And I think people find comfort in that. I mean, this is a theory. I'm not saying this is fact, but I think people find a comfort in that, and they're not going in blind when they don't like. Okay, put it this way, Nate. Does a movie with a cast of folks that you know their acting style, you may have chosen, like, I like the way you do things on screen, I'm gonna watch your movie. Doesn't that sway what movie you're gonna watch?
It
Regardless if it's
definitely does. It
yeah,
does. Superhero movies, we have lots of those now, and it's usually a continuation of a story at this point. The MCU is this giant, giant soap opera, bigger than life. We are looking forward to seeing these characters all the time. And maybe my brain is just playing a trick on me, but when I go to see the next Marvel movie, I don't feel like I'm seeing the exact same thing. Yes, they're introducing a lot of different characters, so maybe that's the thing. They have a common theme, but it's sort of different characters. Versus if I go and see another Nightmare on Elm Street, yes, I have a love for Freddy, or maybe not anymore because I don't think Robert Englund is going to come back. I think he's done. There's sort of a predictability in horror films where an idea comes, peaks, and goes very quickly. So people are going to see certain characters that they love, but is it scary?
that's very fair. To answer your question earlier, you said, have we run out of ideas? No, I don't think the horror genre or companies have run out of ideas at all. Do I think that these original ideas are not being promoted or given enough support with ads and promotion and availability? No, the concentration is still on remakes and sequels. I mean, we can go down a list of some upcoming stuff that's definitely going to come out that are getting the theater quality. They're getting the opportunity to be widespread around the world. Whereas these original ideas are being streamed immediately on Shudder or Prime Video or any other like Netflix, but they're everywhere. All these original ideas are everywhere, but what do they lack? They lack familiarity. Nobody knows the actors who are in them. They don't know the type of genre or tone that they're going to get. And it really takes a lot of buzz and word of mouth to get these movies recognized. You know, there are some that kind of sneak in and they grab your attention, and a lot of people will watch them out of curiosity, but that's based on word of mouth. But the minute somebody says, bam, we're going to do Candyman again, everyone remembers that, and nobody questions how fucked up it's going to be and how entertaining it's going to be. There's already something you're familiar with. So that's what I would say to your question. I actually have a list of some of the upcoming sequels and remakes that are coming out here in the next year. So let's go through them and just see what we think about what's coming up and if we look forward to it or if we think it's like a waste of time. Like, are we headed in the right direction, basically, with the chosen ones that they've decided to continue? First up, we finally got a release date for A Quiet Place 2. This was one of the first horror films that were supposed to come out after Invisible Man, and then we went into quarantine. So this is going directly to Paramount Plus. It's
Oh,
yeah. I'm sure it'll also get a theatrical release, but it's
yeah.
definitely matching with Paramount Plus. So we're finally getting the sequel to A Quiet Place. What do you think about this? Are we looking forward to this one?
I mean, I can't afford no streaming service, so we'll see. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Yes, I absolutely want to see it. I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of forget about it because
Oh,
it's
okay.
been a year now, so I'm sure it'll be great. I still have not ventured towards going to the theater, maybe in June. So, I'll be a latecomer. I'll see it after everyone else sees it.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a fun movie to watch.
Mm.
Here's the thing with A Quiet Place 2. I'm not saying that this is not a good idea or they won't benefit with coming out with this movie. I just know that I am not going to get the same experience I did in the first one. That first one was such a complete shock and surprise. The theater experience Like, we are already used to these monsters. We know how they operate. I'm sure they're going to amp up the terror and the amount of monsters they deal with. It won't be as suspenseful. It might be more of an action horror. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from the trailer. You're just, I don't think they're going to repeat that same magic. But with that being said, does that mean that they shouldn't come out with another one? Or is there really more story to tell, regardless if we are excited about it or not, or if we get some excitement from it? Like, is there a story to tell? Do we really want to know where this family is headed next?
Well, maybe this one is more focused on the other human beings and how they're actually a bigger problem, you know? I mean, it's whenever society falls apart. Really glad that didn't quite happen last year, but it's like people suddenly divide off and they're like, well, survival of the fittest and fuck everyone else.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it is.
Well, we'll see what happens with that one. How about oh yeah, I already know the answer to this one. The Halloween sequels.
If my eye roll could make a sound, it would sound something like.
So here's the thing, because you like H2O, but we wouldn't have gotten to that without the other sequels. So granted, they did a little reset and went from part 2 to H2O story wise, but we still wouldn't have gotten to that without the other sequels. So if we want Halloween and other like movies to stop making sequels, then we wouldn't get gems like H2O.
Maybe. I mean, their original idea to make a different Halloween movie like every year or every other year, they threw that down the toilet real fast. So, it's like, who knows what could have been? And then they would have come back 20 years later like, hey, let's make a sequel to our great original, and we'll like bring people back to but it's like, no, I'm sorry. I know everyone's going to be so excited when it comes out. Everybody I know was like, oh yes, that movie's good. Like even my friend Brandy, she doesn't really watch horror movies anymore, but she was like, oh yes, the directing, I could see it, the cinematographer. And I was like, what are you talking about? What am I missing? I'm not trying to just be a hateful bitch. I just was not scared, was not surprised. And if you're trying to like get me to like be excited about throwbacks, well,
didn't do it.
Throw it back in a scary way. I don't know. Yeah.
I really enjoyed this Halloween 2018. I do look forward to the sequels. I'm not going to put it on a high pedestal just yet and say that they're going to be the best ever, but I am very curious how they plan to really close this out. And I can tell you right now, it won't be the last one because I'm sure it'll get rebooted. I'm not even questioning that at all. But this story is finally going to end. So I'm very curious how they do that.
That's great. If they're able to actually make a little trilogy of their own, wonderful. And I hope everyone enjoys it. I really do.
All right, then we have Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, I forgot about that one too.
Yeah, we're getting another Ghostbusters. So basically a sequel, but sort of rebooted because we're dealing with new people and their experiences. Are you looking forward to this one? What do you think about? Did they really need a follow-up to Ghostbusters 2?
No. No. I mean, do we ever need a follow-up? It's like only if like it's so open-ended that it's like, oh, well, there was no closure to this story. But, it's like most sequels kind of wrap up on their own. But no. But I still think it'll be fun. I do. If they were able to make it, I don't know, like a decade sooner or like 2 decades sooner, actually, because they've been trying to do this for a long time. And then I forget his name. I feel terrible. Ivan Reitman?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's sad that they couldn't do it with him, but, they're doing it for him. So I'm sure it'll be lots of fun. Sure it will.
I'm totally down for Afterlife. I got a big nostalgic feel when I watched the trailer, but if they really decided to just not do this, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. So I don't need it, but I'm gonna watch it.
So if they just shelve it after all this trouble, you're like, oh, okay, all right.
All right, what about Don't Breathe 2? Like, yeah, there we go. There
No,
we go.
listen. So I haven't seen it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Why have you not seen Don't Breathe?
Because I haven't had access to it. I want to see it. I do. I really do.
How
I'll
much do you
rent it.
know about it,
I'll
actually?
rent it. I only know the basic plot that they break into this man's house to steal some shit or something, and then they quickly realize he is not your run-of-the-mill elderly blind gentleman.
Shit goes down. So
Shit.
I don't
Yeah.
know if you remember the trailer, but do you find this particular plot believable, especially not knowing anything to warrant a sequel? It's like, what happened at the end of this that demanded a sequel? So it's like, what do you think about this plot? Do you find it believable?
I mean, the first one, sure. Or at least I can suspend belief enough that yes. I mean, I feel like there are people in the world who, if they lose one of their senses, they have to rely on their other senses, especially, and I don't know, is the actor, not the actor, but the character in question, is he a veteran or something?
He's a vet, yeah. So he's had some
Okay.
training.
So he's had training. So, I mean, he probably was just on a different level mentally. Like, he probably lost his sight after the fact and was like, all right, well, now I just got to be on my P's and Q's,
Well,
whatever
I
that means.
cannot wait for I cannot wait for you to see this movie. It's so good. It's so
No,
good.
I do want to watch it. I do. I
Yeah.
just, I don't know. It must have been on something a long time ago. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this. But now it's not streaming for free, or it's
Yeah.
not included anywhere. So if I want to watch it, maybe it's on Tubi, but I don't really want to watch it with commercials. I'll get back to you. I know I'm compiling a list now. I didn't think this would happen, but I definitely never said I was an expert.
With subscription, you can watch it on FX Now and Fubo and DirecTV.
I don't have any of those things.
I
What
could
what
actually,
the fuck is a Fubo?
I don't know. It's some new thing that just came out.
Fubo?
Fubo, FUBO, TV.
There's just too much.
It really, you know what? Don't Breathe reminds me, like, it's in the same sort of category as People Under the Stairs.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
just think about like underestimating a house.
Yes.
And just
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
in for yours and then being trapped in there with some heavy ass, House of Horrors type shit. It's oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
I can see that.
All right, let's move on. What about Spiral? So we've got the follow-up to the follow-up of Saw. The legacy of Saw. Spiral. Now, this is executive produced and starring Chris Rock.
Mm-hmm.
What about this? Now, they've come out with 9 of them already.
This is the 10th movie.
I think, wait, hold on. I think, because Jigsaw 3D was number 7, and then they came out with Saw 7. There was Saw 7, and then there was Jigsaw. So this is number 9.
Oh, okay. This is 9. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I didn't watch the last one.
Okay.
I saw all the other movies, for better or worse. I did see them. I felt like I need to finish this now. So I finished it, and then they made another one, and I was like, I don't want to keep doing this.
No, I totally get that. Anyone who is interested, Nate and I did review the entire franchise up until Saw 3D in our archive podcast. So definitely look that up on YouTube. The entire franchise was reviewed and we gave our points for that. And that was a good episode, I thought. With this particular sequel, I don't know if this spoils anything for you, but you can watch Spiral without watching Jigsaw.
I kind of figured that. I figured that it was sort of not necessarily a standalone, but I felt like it was going to go in its own direction.
Yeah.
When it comes to Saw and Hostel and things like that, I do tend to shy away because I know that I'm going to be in territory where it's going to be very graphic. I just watched Your Next the other night, and I didn't know. All right, it was graphic.
I didn't know.
I didn't know. I did not, because the first like 20 minutes of that movie, I'm like, okay. And then once it started, I was like, God. So I don't typically set out to watch gory movies. That being said, long story short, too late. I will watch Spiral probably when it comes out.
I'm very excited. I have a theory that it's going to challenge a lot of dirty cops or cops who take advantage of their privilege and power.
Yeah.
Jigsaw always has some underlining message, but always
Mm-hmm.
looking out for the little guy,
Yeah.
people in privilege and power, and getting them checked. And
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is going to be that story. So
I
we'll
think you're
see.
right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll see. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is a couple of reboots. So coming up first is the Resident Evil franchise. It's completely being redone to focus more on looking like the video game. We are getting an authentic Resident Evil movie now. However, they're doing like a Friday the 13th sort of remake where they're combining, I think, the first three movies and storylines and smashing them all up. So you're going to get a Chris Redfield, you're going to get Leon, you're going to get Claire all in one. Wesker, all of them are in it.
I only played the game a little bit, so I am not super invested. I'll just say that, I guess. And I wasn't super invested in the other movies.
That's fair, but just think in a global scale, like, are they going too far? Is there an audience for this? Is there room for a reboot like this? Is it time?
Mm,
Like, what do you...
so I know that Netflix is about to put something out for Resident Evil. I think it's an animated something. I could see that being more interesting for people just because, especially now, a lot of people want to stream things. So if you're going to bring something back, yeah, you should probably turn it into a series or an animated series or something, or you can make it a series of movies on some sort of streaming service. Especially, I don't even know who this would be through. Maybe it's a Paramount movie. Paramount Plus obviously is trying to like make their own original content to try and start another film series for theatrical. I don't know if anyone's super excited about that, but I also didn't play the game. So
No,
if
that's
there are
fair.
people out there who played the game, they might really love it. But I feel like TV would be the better route.
I think that this is a good example of what I like to see with reboots, and we've kind of touched base on this before. I think reboots should go to franchises and films that did not do well the first time around and need
Mm,
improvement. Who watched this entire franchise and still, even by the sixth movie, still wanted an authentic horror film of this game? When the game is scarier than the movie, then you've got to ask yourself, where is the opportunity? Where is the influence? Like, come out with a scary ass Resident Evil. Now, the other franchise is fun. I'm not knocking it. This is one of those opportunities where somebody with the right mindset to really bring the game to life, that is a reason to reboot something.
you know, you just made me realize why I probably didn't play the game because it was stressful as fuck.
Exactly.
Watching the movies was one thing, and I didn't watch all of them, but it's like, it's like, yeah, there's some jump scares here and there, but no, playing the game was too stressful.
This is rumored. I don't have a specific like date or like guarantee that this is going to happen, but it was rumored that we are getting a gender swapped Firestarter. It will be a little boy this time instead of a little girl. Now, do you think that there is a reason for a movie in the 80s to be not only redone, have the name taken, and then gender swap it? Like, do you think people are just like, what if a boy had that power? And I can point to a Charmed episode right now and give it to you. So it's already been done. I'm going to just say that right now.
Well,
But
it's already been done, even in superhero movies. Like all the firebenders are boys usually, so it's like we've seen boys throw around flames. It's not super exciting
so,
unless he's
is there a point to this? Why, like, do you think that people love Firestarter and its story so much that it warrants an idea to be like, let's do it from a boy's point of view?
no. No. I heard that they were remaking it, but I didn't hear they were going to gender swap it. I guess, yeah, no, why? Because they're constantly adapting all of these other Stephen King short stories or novellas. I'm like, damn, he wrote a lot of shit that I just
Yeah,
have
he
never
did.
heard of. And or he's writing. Sorry, he's still with us. I knew that. But so it's like, just keep adapting his stuff that we haven't seen. Like you said, unless you can improve upon the story or make it even scary. Like when they did It, I feel like they improved upon it. But I don't need any more Carrie remakes, so I probably don't need another Firestarter remake. They remade Firestarter in the 2000s, I think.
Think about this. This is a theory that last night I was watching some Marvel movies. Specifically, it was Infinity War and Endgame. So we got a lot of Peter Parker, and he constantly was using pop culture references in his dialogue, but he would always attach the word old to it.
Yeah.
You know, that old movie Aliens, you know, that old movie back, so it's like the theory is that you're never, well, not never, you're not going to get today's audience to go back and watch something from the 80s. And so when you have something that's so good and brilliant, whether it's the story or the concept, yes, you may not want to make up your own characters and take the same concept because, again, already fan base.
Yeah.
How do you bring gems like that to today? And that's to remake it. That's to reboot it. That's to introduce it and give it a updated spin. Now that we have cell phones, as you put it earlier, maybe that's why we continuously get these reboots and remakes, because we want audiences to see how fucking brilliant horror was back in the day.
Yeah, and I don't even know if the original Firestarter was particularly scary. I don't think it was. I don't know. Was it supposed to be scary?
That movie to me would need a rewatch because I barely remember it. I watched it once as a kid, and
yeah,
I'm
I'm going off of my childhood memory of it, but I don't remember it being super scary. I know it's like a horror novel, but it's more of like a sci-fi drama.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know.
Yeah.
She can start fires, but I don't know. Maybe the thing that would be scary about it is the government agencies that constantly intervene and take her and her parents into custody and stuff like that. Maybe that's scary. But you know what? Good point, because a lot of people, even people our age, someone I know in particular, but I won't say, they don't like to watch old movies.
Yeah.
And when they say old, they mean even from the 90s. They're like, "Oh, that's an old movie." And I'm like, "It's one of my favorite movies." And they're like, "Yeah, but I've already seen it. I don't want to rewatch stuff." And then a lot of people I think are like that, where it's like things are quick now. I want things now, and then I want something new. I binged the new show on Netflix. Now I need something else. Even if they're similar to what I've already seen, I don't want to watch the same thing. And I'm definitely not about to go back and watch my daddy's Dark Crystal or whatever. I'm not doing that shit. If you remake Dark Crystal, I'll watch it.
But that's what's so funny about it too. It's because, okay, so you won't watch anything old, but it's like, how are you going to improve good shit? That's the thing. It's like, make sure that you're picking stuff that wasn't good before. We just had the Craft Legacy. Now, I completely understand why this franchise was rebooted, because that generation that we got in the Craft does not exist today. So if you tried to make any witch movie to fit that description, especially hijinks going on in a high school, you have to come up with something different. It's the name that I have a problem with. Just come out with your own shit. Craft is perfection. Like, there's absolutely nothing you need to do to update it in any shape or form. That movie did exactly what it was supposed to do. Craft Legacy was a sequel, but there's something about taking a name and then not being responsible for attaching it with where it came from. You want to change everything, but yet you want to keep the name. And that's not right. So it's just like, make sure you're grabbing stuff that actually needs improvement if you're going to do stuff like that,
I mean, I did watch it, and parts of it are nice.
I actually liked it. I thought it was it was better than what I thought it was going to be, put it that way.
I thought that the girls were fine. They were even fun to watch. It was a very different vibe. And kids these days, God, oh my God, I'm like 67 years old. It's just so stupid. But they would probably watch it and be like, "Oh yeah, these are how my friends are, And it's like, yeah, it's I'm sure it's relatable. The topics that they raised as far as like this is how our generation feels about the world. This is how we express ourselves. This is, the bully. They kind of helped him to evolve a little bit. So I was like, well, this is nice, the way that they talked about different things. But as far as connecting it to the original movie, I didn't appreciate that. I thought it was just why even bother? Because it was real nice of Veruza to come back for that 1.5-second cameo.
They
It was
wanted
real
to
nice
make
of her.
sure that you and I watched this movie. That's why. I mean, seriously, that's the only reason. Because why would
God.
we, and I say we as a collective, I mean this is a broad spectrum of an audience that is used to a 90s version of this movie. Why would we watch this Gen Z movie? We're too old for this. Like, we have no business with this movie isn't made for us. So
But we're not.
But
We're
how
not,
are
though.
how are we supposed to watch this? Well, we have to connect it for 1.5 seconds.
Well, so no, that pissed me off.
I
I would
totally
rather
agree.
they not did that.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
rather they just alluded to, oh, your mother's a witch, and it's like, could have been whoever. We don't know. We don't have to talk about it. But so this is not a horror movie, but I just watched The Moxie on Netflix.
Okay.
Total Gen Z movie. Girls in high school, very empowering, and like talking about the evil patriarchy. And I was like, no, this is a great movie. Yes, Amy Poehler's in it as someone's mom, so it's like, oh, look, I know her, but still, she was not the main focus. It was all these people that I really didn't know, all these characters I didn't know. So I could have been fine with all these young witches that I didn't really know. I don't think I recognized any of them. I agree with you. They could have just tried to make this some sort of other witch movie, but it probably wouldn't have been made if they hadn't been like, no, this is a sequel to The Craft.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason that it was able to get made. And I'm not trying to like shit all over it. It wasn't bad. It was just like weird trying to connect it to the original.
I don't think the writer and director knew sort of the potential that they had. Like they either underestimate their audience or they were too chicken shit to take a risk.
And because Zoe Lister?
Yeah. Because
But
I actually liked these girls. We just didn't get enough of them.
Yeah.
They barely hung out together. And that's, I was like, okay, y'all got some here. Be confident about what you got. I don't need this to be connected.
Zoe Lister Jones? No, she's from our generation. So I feel like she grew up watching The Craft and was like, yes, this movie is she's a millennial. She's no, so she should have made this movie and been real serious about it.
Well, one more that I do want to bring up. This is horror-esque, adjacent, semi Diet Coke, Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, right. They're remaking that.
They are remaking this. Now, they're keeping the musical aspect and genre of the film, so it will be a musical, like the original musical, even though it is a remake of a remake, or a remake of an, So, what do you think about this? Is this a cash grab? Do we need another musical? Can they make better music from the one that we got? Now, this is obviously subjective. I can't say what music is better. What are they going to rap in this one? Are they going to
I hope not.
God help us, right? But the thing is that Little Shop of Horrors sort of had this is it 50s or 60s, doo-wop generation. Yeah. So they chose that era to focus on this musical. They could have a 2021 Little Shop of Horrors, and then maybe we get a pop sort of musical, or can people really just watch the old one? You got assholes still watching Wizard of Oz like that shit just came out yesterday, but nobody can go out and watch Little Shop of Horrors from the 80s and treat that as the original diamond that it is. No, this movie needs to be remade because we have actors today that can sing that people recognize. And I think that's a little bullshit. But what do you think?
I can appreciate that. As an actor, yeah, it's like, oh, would you want to be in something that you've loved growing up? Would you want to redo it? It's probably a scary thing to tackle. So anybody who's in it, I pity them a little bit. But hopefully they have fun and hopefully it's great. I don't necessarily need one. I can easily watch the original. It was one of my favorite movies when I was really, really young. I had
Loved
no
it.
idea what I was watching, and the plant was scary when I was 3 years old.
Would you like a more horror themed music? Think Repo Man, think Stage Fright, think Sweeney Todd. Do we want it darker than what we got? Even the play was changed to not fit this dark tone that it was supposed to be. Or do we want a happy-go-lucky musical like we got with Rick Moranis and Ellen Green?
I guess I would challenge them to do something different. I don't
Thank
know if
you.
I would necessarily want to change the decade. I feel like that would be weird because then it's like you really have to change the music so much to be like, well, we're going to do the musical stylings of the early 2000s. Like, I don't know. It's like, how do you mix? I mean, but people can do it where you mix great comedy and great horror. You can even go as far as to say, oh, I am scared of the plant, but I also think he's funny. It could work.
We have Billy Porter playing our plant, Audrey too. So I am living for that. He's going to sing the shit out of it. And
wow.
if he's just given the right music, then I'm happy. And I do trust Greg Berlanti. I trust him.
What has she done? I'm sorry.
Greg Berlanti is our Love Simon and our DC shows. He is our gay conduit into Hollywood.
Oh, that name. Yes, I remember. Okay.
Yes. So this is his project. So hopefully he does a justice to this movie.
Okay, well, Billy Porter aside, who's playing?
It is rumored that our couple to be is Rebel Wilson and Josh Gad. I've heard them both saying they have the chops. It just depends on the tone. But look at Little Monsters, and Josh Gad was in that. He's versatile. He can give it.
I think Josh Gad is very versatile. I mean, he started in what's the show called? Book of Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I know he can sing. I know he can act. I know he's funny. I think Rebel can be funny. Ain't nobody better than Ellen Green, but okay.
Yeah.
They should probably just go ahead and call her. She's like in her 60s now or something.
Just have her be like the first customer that comes in, admires the plant. Oh, I would love that. Cute. Or she could be Mr. Mushnick.
Mr. Mushnick.
Oh, I would love that. All right, well, I think we've talked remakes and sequels quite a bit. This was an interesting conversation. Like there are so many that I did not mention, which means there is so much of a huge library that people can continuously keep picking from. But here's the thing. You have to go out and get Shudder, and you got to watch these movies, and you got to talk about them, because if nobody is going to talk about these original ideas, we're not going to get them. And they're going to keep coming out with sequels. With every show, we always end with a segment that can be fun to relive some of our old and even new horror films that have come out. But almost in every single one of them, there is always a character who does something so stupid that will either get them killed or get someone else killed. The segment is called Bitch Really. We basically take a movie and point out one of these faults. Now, I'm going to deliver today's Bitch Really, and it comes from The Lost Boys. This particular scene, nobody died, but I got to call Bitch Really on this because I just can't believe this was done. So this is the oldest boy of two who is being converted into the Lost Boy group. And after going through the initiating, eating somebody else's food and drinking from their bottles, and sanitary alone, I can call Bitch Really on that already. But no, this is not the scene that I'm talking about.
It was the 80s.
Oh, God, I would never. In a cave, too. So after all of the said and done, they go out to a train track. And this is high level. This is on a bridge. There's no flooring or ground underneath this track. One by one, this crew just jumps off the track. And you find out that they're hanging from a bar. And again, it's just nothing but empty sky. Bitch Really Are you going to, by peer pressure, because there was no other reason to do it, there were no women to impress, like, you're doing it for the approval of this man you just met 5 minutes ago, and you are going to go down and hang from a bar, I don't know how many feet high, that you could plummet to your death. Bitch, really?
Look, this is why we had after school specials in the 80s, because, you know, for those of us who were born in the 80s, we're all lucky to be here, because, I mean, most of our parents should probably be dead.
I mean, who does that just for the sheer point of fitting in or to impress somebody or to challenge your own masculinity? I don't know what the hell, but that was like the dumbest thing I'd ever seen. And yes, we're dealing with the supernatural entity here, and we still don't even know how he got home. So that in itself, he did not fly home. Until we figure out how he got home, don't try it at home. Okay. Like, he lucky he was leaning towards evil, because if it wasn't for the devil, like that, he would have been dead.
You don't know. Maybe Delarice was watching after him.
All right, well, that's going to conclude our episode of Bitch, I Ain't Scared. I hope you guys all enjoyed our first episode. Definitely tune in. This is a bi-weekly show that posts an episode every other Tuesday, so look out for another episode coming up, and we'll have a very amount of topics that we are going to bring to you, and you get to listen to our opinions about them. Any comments you have on the show, definitely let us know. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter under FearBIAS, all one word.
Unless it's some shit we don't want to hear. I'm just kidding.
Thank you again for tuning in, and this is Bitch, I Ain't Scared. See you next time.
Bye.